Welcome back to Onebar and Lupagus show. I am Lupagus, and we are going to continue our depth chart breakdown, preview, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to go with tight ends today. Before we get in that, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the vids. We are approaching 7,300. We kind of just leveling off here. I'd like to get up to 7,300 here before the 4th of July. Let's do it. Let's all work together, like the page and the vids. All right, so subscribe to the page. Let's talk about Vikings tight ends right now, topping the depth chart. Obviously, no big surprise, Irv Smith Jr. I'm looking at our lads right now. They got Ben Elvson, number 2, Johnny Munt next, Zach Davidson, and then rookie 7th-round phenom Nick Muse rounding this thing out. And before we start talking about each player individually, I like to actually talk about this position as a whole because to me, top to bottom, this is the weakest group on the 2022 Minnesota Vikings. Yes, Irv Smith Jr. has a ton of potential, but the depth behind him is horrifying. It's very, very scary. If he goes down, which there's no reason to think he won't, the Vikings are in a lot of trouble at tight end. And I really think if they're going to bring in one veteran this preseason here before the season actually kicks off and he actually makes a 53 roster, it will be a tight end. And the one I keep going back to is Kyle Rudolph. He doesn't really excite me, but familiar target for Kirk Cousins, someone he knows in the red zone, a guy who can bring some veteran presence. So if something happens, they don't like what they see from these young guys, Irv Smith Jr. gets hurt, I wouldn't be shocked if Kyle Rudolph does end up on this team before the season starts. But before we get in that, let's walk through this whole thing. So let's go Nick Muse first. I mean, Nick Muse is just kind of a guy who's not great in any one area, not horrible in any other area. 7th-round pick, decent size on this guy. You know, he poses all naughtily in that one pick on Twitter. 6'5", 252 pounds. I mean, usually 7th-round picks don't have much of a chance to make the team, but there's really no reason to think he can't beat out Zach Davidson, Ben Elvson to make this team. So I think he's got a shot. How this guy goes and what he does in preseason will go a lot way and show, and determine if he does make the team. Another guy who's got to really have a good preseason to make this roster is Zach Davidson. He's like 6'7". He's just ginormous, 251 pounds. But Zach, I don't think I've ever seen a player have as shitty, at least exhibition game performance that I saw from him back to back. I know the one against the Colts, he had a couple drops, looked lost, looked like he didn't understand the offense, didn't understand his routes, where he was supposed to be on the field. I have heard some good things coming out of him the last couple of mini camps, so maybe he is starting to figure it out because this guy is loaded with potential. I mean, 6'7" tight end. Why would you not want that on your team? Just chuck that thing up, let him get it. But Zach Davidson, he'll be in a battle with Nick Muse, and then he'll also be in a battle, in my opinion, with Ben Elvson, the other guy. Ben Elvson, he's not a receiving tight end. He is a blocking tight end. That's what he does. Is that important in the Kevin O'Connell offense? I tend to think no. So to me, Ben Elvson, I don't know. I think he may be cut bait when this thing's all said and done. I think they want receivers. I think they want tight ends who can catch, and not that Ben Elvson can't catch. He's just nuts. That's not what he does. He's a blocker. One guy I do think is safe. They got him listed 3 on this depth chart I'm looking at, but Johnny Munt, the guy from the Rams here, the free agent, hasn't done much in his career. He's not the biggest, 6'4", 233 pounds, little skinny, but he can, I just feel he's been super underutilized in the Rams. I think Kevin O'Connell brought him here for a reason. He likes what he saw. He knows what he can do. And I think he will end up being the backup tight end on this team, whether anyone likes it or not. And Johnny Munt, I think his highest career is about 7 receptions in a season. He made triple that this year. Johnny Munt's going to have a breakout season, but it's not going to be very impressive. It's going to be a breakout season for him. As the Vikings backup tight end, which I do think he will be. And then Irv Smith Jr., again, we just keep waiting and waiting and waiting for this guy to bust out, have a huge season. The potential's there, and we've seen flashes of it. The 2020 season, he closed that thing out on a hell of a stretch the last 3 games. Red zone threat, making plays down the field. This is what Irv Smith Jr. can do. And in an offense that's going to throw the ball a ton, having an athletic pass-catching tight end who's basically a receiver like Irv Smith Jr. is going to be huge for this offense. So hopefully he stays healthy. We'll knock on wood for that because he can bust out. He's in a contract year, and it's so hard right now for him, his injury history. What kind of contract is he going to be thrown by not just the Vikings, but other teams who may be interested? Huge year for Irv Smith Jr., a year where he really has to cash in on that potential. So Now that we talked about everybody on the step chart, we kind of like to rank it, predict how we think this thing's going to shake out. Personally, I see this thing going like this. Irv Smith Jr. is going to top this thing out. Johnny Munt at 2. And this is where I struggle. I think this is where the real battle is going to be. Who is going to be the third tight end? Will it be Zach Davidson? Will it be Nick Muse? Will it be Ben Ellefson? And I'm actually right now, and I don't feel very confident about this, but I'm going to go with the rookie. I'm going to go with Nick Muse. This regime drafted him. And if he has even just a decent preseason, I think he could make this team. So I'm going to go Nick Muse. Will be the third tight end. Again, though, I do want to say a little asterisk by this, because if there's someone who's going to come in, whether it's a Kyle Rudolph, Eric Ebron, somebody else, this could be the position that gets some free agent help right before the season starts. Or maybe they trade for somebody, who knows? But this is the position to me on the Vikings roster that is most likely to be added to before the season starts. So that is the tight end depth chart breakdown, whatever you want to call it. Let me know what you guys think. Am I crazy? Am I way too high on Johnny Munt? Which I'm not. I'm not high on Johnny Munt. I just think the coaching staff is. Yeah. Do you like Zach Davidson? Do you like Nick Muse? Do you think Ben Ellefson's going to stick as a blocking tight end? I want to hear it. I want to know what these tight ends are going to look like, because to me, this is the most concerning position on the Minnesota Vikings. All right. And while you're thinking about that, remember to always, especially as we're getting close to the 4th of July, to keep your skull in your hole.